Hi, this is Flores, and I'm here with Tyrell Fortune, who has a fight this Saturday, May 10th, coming up. He just had a change of opponent. Was it yesterday?
Yeah, 2 days ago.
2 days ago, okay. You're 14-3. Yep. You were preparing for one opponent that is a BJJ black belt. And I know in most camps you usually don't train a lot of jiu-jitsu, or you didn't used to. The last time we spoke, you told me your coach gets mad, you never train jiu-jitsu, yeah. But you came off a submission loss, and you were expecting a black belt for an opponent. Yeah. So in this camp, did you focus a lot more on jiu-jitsu than you have in the past?
Well, I think in general, the past couple of years, I've focused a lot more on jiu-jitsu. For this guy specifically, I didn't really focus too much on jiu-jitsu, just because it didn't seem like for his last two fights that he was even focusing on jiu-jitsu. A lot of it was ending in stand-up. So we focused mostly on the stand-up side of it for this last opponent.
Okay, which you won 8 of your fights via knockout, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, is that how, so you had a change of opponent. Tell us a little bit about your new opponent.
He's a kickboxer, mostly a stand-up guy. From all the fights that we've seen, he doesn't have much of a ground game. So I think it's gonna be mostly a stand-up fight.
I'd like to know, I mean, are you the kind of fighter that you just train your training, you don't really focus on the person that you're fighting, or are you like, oh, I just had a change of opponent. We're trying to think, okay, wait, who is this again? And it's so new. So is that how is that affecting you mentally for your camp and any changes that you have to make in your game plan?
Well, luckily for me with my skill set, I don't really change up the skill set too much. It's just morally how I'm going to apply it, really. And so mostly for any fight, I'll just watch their last 3 to 4 fights and then look at their habits. And I'm just trying to see what their habits are, what they are accustomed to doing, and then going from there. So with him, I just started watching his last 3 fights and trying to put a strategy together with Trevor.
Okay, sounds good. So are you going to have a lot more gym time the next few days then to put those strategies together to, practice what you're seeing that you want to do in the fight?
Not any more than we were already doing, really. I won't add any more time. It'll just be more of a mental notes and adjustments to it, because we were planning on standing up with the last guy, so it's pretty much the same idea with this guy.
Do you find him to be a tougher opponent, or do you think that you kind of lost an opponent that you were looking forward to going up against?
I feel like Carl, actually, my last opponent, would have been a tougher fight than this guy. Clearly just because Carl had a full camp to prepare for me, and this guy is on 6-day notice. So I think Carl would have been probably more prepared if he didn't get injured, or I'm not sure exactly what he went through, but this guy just got flew out to California today and is doing all his medicals today, and just got the fight 2 days ago. So I don't think he's had much preparation to get ready for me.
You said you're going to California on Thursday.
Yeah.
He just got there today.
Yeah.
I mean, you're heavyweight, so luckily you don't have somebody that has to really cut weight.
Yeah, and he's a guy who shifts between 205 and heavyweight, so I think he's a smaller heavyweight anyway. So.
I was noticing that. What do you walk around at?
250.
250. Yeah. So sometimes you used to be the smaller heavyweight and go in there, right?
Yeah.
And rely on your agility and your quickness and things like that. As time's gone by, are you kind of a bigger heavyweight now, would you say?
Definitely, 100%, yeah.
And where does that come from? Have you been weightlifting or?
Weightlifting, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't look like, I want to say out of shape heavyweight. They are out there, you know?
Yeah, no, you get some good guys.
You definitely look strong, but 250.
Yeah.
That's got to be all muscle, because you're a very in shape guy.
Yeah, no, before camp I was 280. So
wow.
When I was out of camp, I was 280 working out. So it was even just to get here, it just takes me just camp, and once I'm in training camp, I'm doing 3-4 practices a day. It's easier to lose weight. So
what do you do? I'm really into lifting. So I lean to that a little bit. What do you do for weightlifting?
I have a trainer out of Elevate Gym. It's in Chandler.
It's a nice gym.
Gilbert. Yeah, it's a nice gym. And man, he has me doing a bunch of different things. I'm his first MMA fighter, so it's been kind of different for me. I was working out of Newer Force One for the last 6 years.
Okay.
And once that shut down and Andre left, then I kind of had to find a new person. And Aaron now, who I've been working with, is great. A lot of the same stuff I was doing with Andre, I'm doing with Aaron. And then Aaron even has switched up and got some new things that I've never seen before. So it's been really nice.
That's nice. With weightlifting, you kind of have to do that too. Like when you're just starting out with it, you don't need a lot of changes. But sometimes you've been doing it for years, you've really been focusing on it. You need those changes for your body to start reacting to new things. So what does he do? Do you do like the powerful jumps and things like that, like stop, start, or do you do actual like it's back day, it's leg day?
Both, actually. We do both. He'll have me doing anything from resistant bands, pulls with jumps, heavy weightlifting, explosive training, sprint workouts. So he has a variation of different things that he puts me through, which is great. I love those type of workouts.
That's fun. So you see him three times a week?
3 times a week, yep.
And then you do jujitsu?
That's kind of like a toss.
Sometimes?
Yeah. Well, really, it's all about who I have to work with. Most of the time, we won't have a heavyweight or somebody even knowledgeable enough for me to even work with. So it's kind of frustrating a little bit to work with jiu-jitsu when I'm not really going to have a challenge, or even somebody who's knowledgeable in the sport. So then that just leads me into striking more.
Okay, so who are you? Do you have good sparring partners here, or do you bring people in, or do you go out to other gyms?
I have a great couple guys here. Jay, I'm not sure of Jay's last name, and then Leon Mackey, who's another professional here. He's a 0-1 now, but he's really picked it up in the last couple of years. Even these last few months, he's really understood his distance and timing, so it's gotten a lot better. Okay,
so I know your background comes from wrestling. And correct me if I'm wrong here, you're a junior college 2-time national champion.
Yep.
And a Division II national champion.
Yes.
And then you came second in Olympic trials, or second?
No, I lost in Olympic trials and before the qualifying round, but I won a world title. I guess it would be now, I think they're calling it U2 or universities. I'm not sure what
it's called,
but it's like right under, but I won the world title in like the university level.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that year, once I lost in the Olympic trials, then I decided to start fighting.
So I have to ask you, so if you're such a good wrestler, how come you don't want to focus on the ground if you know you could take people down? Is it like ground and pound that you like then? You'll take people down, but you're not focusing on the submission part because you're focusing so much on the stand-up. Like, why is that?
Because the fight started on the feet. And for most heavyweights, that's where the fight usually ends and is dictated. For me with wrestling, I can pretty much take anybody down and keep them down. I'm not going to be looking for most submissions in the fight because it's going to tire you out. I'm going to be looking to elbow you and punch. So if you give me a submission from those things, then I'll take the submission, but I'm not going to take you down and try to hold you down to submit you. I'm going to try to finish you.
That makes sense. You're looking for the knockout. Although you do have the rear naked choke win.
Yeah, I do have
so you take it.
Right, so I will get, if you
give
it to me, I will take it.
Give it back, you're going to get it.
I get it.
So, being that you're saying that, do you ever consider boxing? Like, I know you're wrestling so strong, but you like standing up, you like striking.
Yeah, actually, before this fight, I was going to actually do a boxing match. I'm not sure what promotion it was. It was this 1 minute or 3-minute round, and it was a weird boxing thing. It wasn't professional, so it wouldn't have counted against me, but I've been trying to do boxing the whole time I've been doing MMA.
Really?
Bellator and PFL wouldn't really allow me to do it, and Bellator kept me active, so it wasn't really an issue with that. PFL was very just like on and off with it, so I never was able to get any exposure into it. But if I can get exposure to boxing before I go into the UFC, or if the UFC will allow me to, then I love boxing. I love boxing since I was a kid, so if I could definitely try to do a boxing match, I will.
Was that your first love?
No, I never boxed before, so I can't say I love it.
Yeah. You've never, okay. But you want to try it.
Yeah,
you want to see what that would be like.
Yeah. So MMA is definitely my love now. I definitely love MMA because I get to use the skills of wrestling that I've developed my whole life, so that helps.
So I heard you saying that Lights Out is great for you because they are a gateway to the UFC and they're really open to that transition. Mm-hmm. What do you think you need to accomplish? Like, are you like, I'm just taking it fight by fight, or do you think there's certain fighters in there that you need to win? And if you did that could possibly, open that door for you?
I don't think it has to do with any of the opponents who I fight. I think it's just me having good performances and getting finishes to look good for the UFC. And
how do you think you would do in that division right now? In the heavyweight division in the UFC?
Oh, I think I'll dog walk 90% of that division. There's probably the top 10 guys I would have to probably get a camp and really focus on those guys, but anybody outside of that, I could fight in a week, couple day notice.
I love it. So, what is your goal overall then? So you want to go into boxing, possibly. You want to make it to the UFC. And what would you say, like, you're newly married, a couple years into it, your whole life you focused on one form of martial arts. Do you see yourself going to the UFC, staying in there for several years, retiring older? Do you eventually want to do something else in the sport? Like, where do you see yourself in the future?
Man, if I would say I don't plan too much in the future like that. That gives me a lot of anxiety. I think too much to worry.
The same way.
To worry about.
Let's focus on this.
Yeah, I would say getting into the UFC. I'm 34 now, so I would definitely want to fight till probably the next 6 years at max. I don't see myself fighting at 40 anymore. So by then I would hopefully something will come around, or just my investments will pay out enough to where I can just retire and not do anything. If I was to do anything, I'd probably coach wrestling or maybe some form of MMA, but I don't know. I mean, I would rather focus on family at that time probably and just rest. You know, my body's been going since I was in the 3rd grade. I started wrestling, so it's been nonstop since then.
It's crazy how some wrestlers, they wrestle so young that it's like it shortens them. Like it stunts their height. And not others, because you've been wrestling so long and you're, how tall are you? Like 6'2"?
6'2", yeah.
That's interesting. And you cut weight all growing up and everything?
Nope. No. So
Oh,
I had a coach that he would limit us to how many tournaments we went to. We wouldn't travel much for tournaments. We go to the big regionals and big national tournaments, which was Fargo back in the day. Now they have like several national tournaments that are big. So he was very good at not burning us out. And because people get burnt out from wrestling, because it's an all year round sport, there is no off season. You go from collegiate right into freestyle Greco, right back into collegiate. So he was very good at like limiting what tournaments we went to and focusing on what we, the time periods.
That's really, really good, coach, because I've heard so many stories that are so different of people cutting weight at such young ages.
Oh yeah, we weren't allowed to cut weight. Even the smaller guys, he never allowed us to cut weight. Whatever you weigh in at, even if you're 1 pound into the next weight class, that's what you wrestled.
So speaking of that, you don't like cutting weight anymore because you had that situation happen where you actually died and came back to life with a sheet over your head and a clipboard on you, screaming, strapped to,
Yeah, gurney.
That was your last weight cut, right?
Last weight cut.
Okay, never again. So were you light heavyweight?
So it was 211.5. So for wrestling terms, I guess that would be like light heavyweight in a sense, yeah.
So how has that impacted your career, and how has that changed your mentality in general in life?
Well, I mean,
like dying and coming back to life. Like, did you see anything when did you see the light?
Nah.
Was it darkness?
Nah, it was like a sleep with no recovery in it. It was just like you're turned off. You know what I mean? I didn't really experience anything. I guess for me, I'm not super religious. I believe in God. I don't believe in religion, if that makes sense. With what people try to make it seem out to be. I didn't. That I guess lack of experience is where I always say if there was something real like that, then I would have experienced it, right? Because I was in that middle ground. But not experiencing it was like, oh, then maybe heaven and hell is made up, right? And people always say, well, Tyrell, you came back to life. Isn't that enough proof right there? I'm like, no, your body wants to survive, your organs and your body wants to live. So it's going to try to restart itself as much as possible, right? Because I put myself there. It wasn't like I got shot 5 times or blown up or something to where my body wasn't capable of working. It was just me dehydrating myself to an extreme point. So
who were you fighting at the time?
I was in a wrestling tournament. It was a university, it was to get on the university world team. And I just wanted to go on a weight class down because I was in that middle part of heavyweight was 265 and I was 220, 215. And the weight class was 211. No, it was 220, between 220 and 230. And the weight class was 211.5. And so my coach was like, Tara, just go heavyweight. And I should have just listened to him because I ended up wrestling heavyweight and still winning anyway. And
You came back to life and went and did your wrestling tournament?
I still wrestled and won.
You did not!
And won heavyweight.
How many days after you came back to life did you go wrestle?
1.
So the next day?
The next day.
And then won?
And won, yeah. They weren't even.
Tell me that opponent. I need to go watch that video.
It's not one opponent. It was like a whole tournament. I wrestled like 5 matches.
What year was this?
This was I want to say 2013 or 2011, 2012. It's like in between 2011 and 2013. Between those years, I'm not exactly sure, but it was in that phase. I wrestled Tony Nelson that tournament, which was he was the NCAA double champion. I wrestled him every year after he won nationals. I beat him, and he was the Division I national champ.
So you came back to life. You have some water. You hydrate. You eat. You wake up the next day, go do a tournament, kick everybody's ass.
Yep.
And you're like, I guess I'll just,
stay anyway.
I guess I'll stay here. This works out for me.
Yeah,
that's great. So change an opponent, that's nothing to you.
No,
you can die and come back to life and go win a fight, so you're good.
Yeah, it was. In Bellator, I had an opponent change on Tuesday of fight week, and he signed the contract on Wednesday. We weighed in on Friday, fought Saturday. So that was probably the craziest of like switching opponents I've had, because my opponent that week, he came in on Monday, saw me and my coach, left, never came back. Tuesday, they were like, hey, we can't get a hold of your opponent. The coach was still there. He's like, he won't even answer my phone calls. And so they're like, all right, we got to try to find a new fighter. Wednesday, they found a new guy. We signed the contract. That was nuts. But that was like my, I think, 3rd fight into Bellator. So it was my 3rd fight ever. So it was an experience, but it wasn't that bad.
What do you think you've learned? What did you learn through your Bellator experience?
Bellator was a great beginning platform and company to start with. They were so informational and like just I want to say nurturing in the sense of like knowing that I hadn't had any amateur career. I've never fought before. So they were very informative of like, hey, this is what you're getting into. This is what you expect. These are things that other people have done. This is what other successful fighters have done and how they carry themselves here. And so just having that relationship with them, with everyone in that company. I mean, from the guy that picks me up from the airport, to the person in the ringside, to the person announcer, to the medical guy, every single person, the promoter, every person in that organization was very helpful, knowledgeable, and just cared about not only the fighters, but the sport itself. They had been in the sport for years and knew exactly what they were doing. I mean, they had a very small staff, but was super organized. And I was so sad that Bellator fell apart. It was like I was like, damn, really already? And it didn't make sense that company should go under because of the way they took care of the fighters. As a fighter, and hearing what other people were experiencing in the UFC or PFL or other organizations was like nothing like the same. So I was like very disappointed to hear when they had to sell and go out of business.
As disappointing as that was, is it a little bit exciting now to think like, oh, now I'm going to the UFC? That's a totally different kind of stage. I mean, if you work your way there, that's a lot more fame. That's a lot more prospects for you to go up against. Yeah. Are you excited?
Oh, I'm extremely excited. For me, I knew like Bellator wasn't the end all be all, but it was a great start and great way to get introduced into the sport. I've always wanted to get to the UFC and test myself against the best. So to me, it was like Bellator was kind of like my amateur career. And now trying to get to the UFC is more like me trying to step into the pros. And but I'm not trying to put Bellator down by any means.
No, they're a great organization.
By that statement, because that is professional. But it just seems like the competition is definitely a lot more televised and more like A-class when it comes to the UFC.
So if somebody's watching this and they're not familiar with your style, with your technique, what would you say you bring to a fight?
Boxing and wrestling.
Boxing and wrestling.
Boxing and wrestling is where I'd stick at most of my skills.
And what makes this this fight something that you're not going to lose? Like, you're just so good, you got this going on. Like, if somebody was out there like, I'm betting on this fight, why should they bet on you?
Knock him out.
Because you're knocking him out. What round?
First round.
Really?
First round, yeah.
Okay, first round knockout. And if somebody was out there and they're like, I don't know which person I'm a fan of. What stands out about you as a fighter that you, who are your people?
What do you mean, like?
Like, if you're like, oh, are you out there and you're just, the one that's like the troll and the shit talker, if you're the one that's out there like, I just stay quiet and fight, or like what do you bring?
I'll shit talk a little bit, but it's more like how that a fighter is addressing me kind of thing. I am more respectful of the sport. I don't like to shit talk if I don't need to. It's more like, this is a business, it's nothing personal, but if you shit talk and make it personal, then I'm a whole different person. I had one person do that, and I think even Bellator was very surprised at how I handled it, because they never seen that energy from me. But it was just like, I don't want it to be personal, right? It's just business, and we're doing a job, so it's nothing personal against you. You know what I mean? I don't know who you are at all, right? So I'd rather just be a man here doing my job, you know what I mean, and trying to get paid. That's it. You know, win or lose, it doesn't, be respectful. That's how I've always been.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking time with me today. Just a few days before your fight, with all these changes and everything. I know poor thing was running around today. You had quite a day, and so I really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and good luck this Saturday,
Thank you.
May 10th.